How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with our Game Week 37 plus live stream here for the deadline, a live Q&A for those that need help with their team, because I certainly do, and I have no clue what I'm going to do. I have a bunch of tabs open on my other screen here, and I don't know what I'm going to be transferring in, what I'm going to be transferring out. I have no clue. So let's see what I'm going to be doing this week. So I got my team over on the side, over to my right here, that you can see up on the screen. Let me just adjust a touch here. Get it nice and centered. That should be good. That should be good. Now, as for captaincy, I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep it on a United player, because West Ham won yesterday, which is good. And I need to pick up some points. So a lot of people are going to captain Fernandes. I think captaining Martial or Rashford could potentially be better. I don't have Rashford, so Martial makes sense. Let me know in chat if the music is too loud or not. I did turn it down significantly. Should be fine. We just want to have it as background music rather than going over the top of my voice. For those that haven't done so already, make sure to follow us on the socials. And we're definitely going to be doing a deadline stream for Game Week 38, because I do have a source that I'm going to be checking today, just for argument's sake. I don't think he's going to be giving the team views. He or she, I'm not sure who is somebody on Twitter. That's going to be looking to give team news for the Man City game for Game Week 38, so that should be interesting. Wood or Rodriguez? That's so tough. The reason I say it's tough, because Wood's obviously coming back into the team. Burnley don't have very many players, so if Wood's fit, he's going to play the full 90 again. Rodriguez has been looking good as well. But obviously it showed that Wood was on penalties. I don't know if that means anything. But I think that, honestly, Burnley's probably going to end up winning the game 1-0. And it's just a matter of who's going to score that. You know, it's just one of those things. No, it's a coin toss on that one. I would say Wood edges it slightly. But I don't know. It's a bit tricky for that one. Also, I'm not sure if Perflow is in chat, but thank you for the follow. They did it while I was off air. Yeah, I think the Wood could potentially be a slight edge, but I can understand Rodriguez. What are the price difference between those two? They're probably similar-ish price if I had to guess. Burnley. Yeah, Wood's just slightly more expensive than Rodriguez. 6.1 to 5.7. I think that Wood's probably is going to play the full 90 though. You would have to guess, and same with Rodriguez. Like, they just don't have any players. I think maybe Rodriguez can come off for Vidra or somebody, potentially. Do I think it's worth taking a hit to bring in a Burnley attacker? Yes and no. So, yes, I would say it's worth it if you're using that money to, like, let's say you have two city attackers and you want a third one, and that third one's like Sterling or Kevin De Bruyne, or maybe you're bringing in Salah versus Chelsea. If you're doing it to enable something like that, then I think it's fine. If it's just, oh, I'm swapping, let's say, I'm swapping Trent out for a defender, and I'm swapping out Calvert-Lewin, let's say, for Chris Wood, then and there's no like the money doesn't really matter too much, then I would say it's not worth it. Only if you're trying to enable something that is either a potential captaincy option, a massive differential because of what they are, like what type of player they are. So like Salah and Mane as an example, in the last 2 game weeks, their ownership has gone down significantly, especially Mane's. I think Mane's is only like 6% inside the top 10k, like effective, like ownership. He's not going to be captain versus Chelsea. Everyone's going to be captaining either City or Man United players, most likely. Mainly Fernandez and De Bruyne will probably be the two big ones, or Jesus even. And I think that if you're doing it to move like in a big player like that, then it's a bit different. But if you're doing a hit for for something like that, then yeah, I think it's fine. If you're just doing like a straight transfer swap, it's like as an example, I have 3.7 million in the bank, right? If I'm swapping out Calvert-Lewin for Chris Wood and I swap out Trent Alexander-Arnold for Tarkowski, on paper might seem okay, but is Wood and Tarkowski going to get 4 points total more than Trent and Calvert-Lewin this week? Maybe, because Calvert-Lewin he's only allowed to get 2 points apparently. But you have to kind of think that Klopp's not going to want to go out on a whimper, and he's still going to put up a fight versus Chelsea. And they have no reason not to basically play their full strength team. Plus, Trent's already had a rest as an example. But again, I have looked at Aubameyang. He is one of the potential transfers on the list. I think he can be. So he has Aston Villa, who are going to be fighting, which means that Arsenal are going to have space. Any team that has to go and win the game, so like Aston Villa, like Bournemouth, it may be a good thing, but it also may be a bad thing as well. And the reason for that is because, yes, they'll be more attacking, which means they'll more likely try to retain the ball and try to score, which means the other team will have to play a bit more defensive or have to worry about that. But it also means the likes of Aubameyang and Pepe and these sorts of players can get in behind easier, because Aston Villa typically is going to be, not having much of the ball. They're going to do a lot of work off the ball, and then they're going to have to look to create something with Grealish just when they get the chance to get it. So I think the likes of Aubameyang could be good. I think the likes of Kane and Son could also be good as well. Baby Spice Tarkowski for Digne. I would have to say I have considered it. I definitely have considered that. However, I think that the second I transfer, for Digne just going out, if that is the only transfer that you're looking to do, is Digne going to concede to Sheffield United? Potentially, because I think that's who they play this week, right? Sheffield United. Is he going to concede? I mean, Everton have been awful, right? But the thing is with Digne, he's always likely to score a goal, but so is Tarkowski. That's a tough one. I would say if that is the one transfer, like if the rest of your team's set up, so like you got like Jesus, De Bruyne, Sterling, those sorts of players, Martial, Fernandez, whatever, your team's all set up and you have 2 free transfers and you just want to use one, then I would say yes, because you're going to play Tarkowski in the final game of the season as well. You know he's going to start. Everton have been awful. But it's weird because when you start to like count Everton like down and out, then it ends up being bad. Yeah, Digne plays Sheffield United. I know Tarkowski plays Norwich. But I think that even though Burnley's playing Norwich, I think they're only going to probably only win 1, maybe 2-0. I definitely think they'll keep a clean sheet for sure. But I think that I would say probably I would give the slight edge. Yeah, I would give it to Tarkowski because I think he's more likely to keep a clean sheet. Norwich are terrible at just defending, period. Whether it be set pieces, whether it be just crosses, whether it be anything. And if there's anyone who's going to get on the end of a header, it's going to be like Tarkowski or Wood or somebody like that, right? And they're also a good asset going into the final game of the season as well. You know, it could be a bit better there in that regard. Um, and I think like Burnley you could easily say that Burnley should get a clean sheet versus Norwich this week. Whereas Digne, that's not necessarily the case. Digne could keep a clean sheet versus Bournemouth, but we thought they would keep a clean sheet versus Aston Villa, and they almost lost that game. And he's been getting himself booked. You know, Holgate's been out of the team now. Like, he's been in and out. He came back, got injured again, and he's been like the kind of defensive stability that they've had in their team. So there is arguments for it. I would say if that's the one, like I said, if you have like your team's already set up, you have 2 free transfers, or you're just looking to do 1 transfer this week, then I think that is a good would be a good move in theory, because you can easily see a Burnley just a swing into the box. McNeil swings it in. Tarkowski or Wood bangs it in the back of the net. 1-0, job done. You know, Norwich don't really have nothing to play. Don't really have anything to play for. And even if Norwich come out fighting, because most teams when they're like considered to be relegated or whatever, they like when they already know they're going down, what they try to do is just go, okay, well we can play without like having the possibility of getting, you know, anything, any repercussions. Basically, they'll just go full out, and that might leave more space for Burnley, so they might win by more than like 1-0. Having a hard time deciding on my captain is Aubameyang, Jesus, or Martial. They're all good shouts. However, I think that there's a chance that Jesus doesn't start in the FA Cup game and comes on, which means that he'll start in the Watford game. So it could be a good captaincy option. There is probably a higher percentage chance that Martial doesn't start in the FA Cup, mainly because we could just play Igalo. Like, I think there'll be rotation with the United team, so Igalo could come in up front. Dan James could go out on the right instead of Mason Greenwood. You'll see the likes of Fred and McTominay in there instead of Matic and Pogba or Bruno. You know, and then Brandon Williams might be playing left back, but we might also play Fosu Mensah again. You may see Bailly come in at center back. You know, there's a bunch of different things. Aubameyang is definitely going to start versus Villa. Like, there's no question about it. So if I had to pick between the 3, I would say, like, you probably can't go wrong with Aubameyang or Martial. Jesus is probably a little bit risky. Now, Jesus for 38, if we get team news, definitely. Like, could be great. Playing my free hits, so gone predominantly Burnley. Have Pope, Tarkowski, and Wood. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. What's the rest of the team looking like, Spice? Because obviously that, you know, free hit against, you know, 3 Burnley versus Norwich. I assume you probably have Man City, Man United. You probably don't have your Chelsea players. You probably don't have your Liverpool players. Maybe you have a couple Wolves. What are the other good fixtures? Maybe you have Danny Ings. I don't know. What's the rest of the team look like? Because it's kind of hard to tell like what Burnley assets are gonna like do well, because basically it's like when you know Burnley are probably gonna score from a set piece, it's just a matter of whose head it comes off of and goes in the goal. It's not a matter of are they going to do it, it's a matter of who's going to do it, you know? Which is why a lot of people are thinking of McNeil in the midfield. Because he's 6 million and he takes all of their set pieces. And he's just like a cheaper enabler. He can also be swapped out to Foden the following week. So, you know, there is different things, different possibilities there. But yeah, I think it's a good free hit if you're going triple Burnley, because that's 2 clean sheets most likely, because Norwich aren't great. Wood, like I said, could do well. Like, Burnley could easily like win the game 2-0. McNeil double assist, Wood and Tarkowski goal, clean sheet. That's very, very possible. But like I said, it's just a matter of whose head it comes off of and goes in the goal. Could be Tarkowski, could be Wood, could be Rodriguez. Could be anyone, basically. Could be Long or whatever his name is. They just have a bunch of really big dudes. So, could be pretty much anyone. Yeah, if you haven't done so already, make sure to follow the stream as well. That would be much appreciated. We do these. We're definitely going to be doing one of these, like I said, for Game Week 38 plus as well, just because it's a lot of fun. Would you play Antonio or Giroud versus the respective things? It's a bit tough, that one, because I think Giroud is probably going to start versus Liverpool. I think that Antonio will obviously start versus Man United. And I think that it like, because Chelsea are still fighting for something, right? If they lose to Liverpool, they know that going on the last game of the season is out of their hands. So they have to go to Liverpool and they're going there and they have to get 3 points as best they can, you know? And it's just one of those things where if they don't play full strength, like the people are saying that there's arguments, oh well, you know, there's the FA Cup game and that could be a priority, you know, you can't buy silverware, all these sorts of arguments. But I think if you're Chelsea, then you should be looking at getting top 4. That is your one priority. There should be nothing else. So I think if you're going to pick between those two, especially if you have a Man United defender as well, if you have a Man United defender, then definitely play Giroud over Antonio, because I typically don't like attackers versus my own defenders. So like if I had like I have Giroud in my team currently, and he's going up against Trent, and I think he's going to start. So I think it could be, you know, that's, you know, not great there, but it is what it is. I think you probably play Giroud instead of Antonio. Even though Antonio has been on form, but I think Giroud is probably more likely to score versus a Liverpool team that looks to they do concede goals. They're not like invincible down the back. Whereas the likes of Antonio is probably going to be like relieved that they're like, they're 99.9% safe, right? They're not going to be they're not going to be like stressing about it, because if we look at if I have the Premier League table open, so right now West Ham and Brighton still on 37 points. So the only team that from the relegation zone that can catch them is either Bournemouth or Aston Villa. They're both on 31. So that would mean Bournemouth and Aston Villa would have to both win their games. One of those games, I believe, is Game Week 38. West Ham play Aston Villa. So let's say hypothetically United beat West Ham 3-0. Let's say West Ham just don't care about the game. They win 3-0, right? Then West Ham's goal difference would be down to minus 17. Let's say Aston Villa, because they have the most control, win 3-0 versus Arsenal. They'll be at minus 24. So that means they would have to win like 6 or 7-0 versus West Ham on the final day. And that's just not going to happen. So, because Aston Villa will be lucky if they score 1 goal, let alone 7. So it's just one of those things that I think that it could just be just kind of curtains for Aston Villa, like with West Ham winning. The team that I would worry about potentially getting relegated is Watford, because they're only 3 points ahead of both of those teams. Now, can Aston Villa beat Arsenal? Of course. Arsenal have shown inconsistencies this season. Can Aston Villa beat West Ham? That's also possible. West Ham probably won't be worried at that point in time. Bournemouth have to play Everton on the last day, and they play Southampton. Both games are potentially winnable. But again, it's something to where you have to kind of weigh it up in a sense. I think that Giroud versus Liverpool, going back to the original statement, is probably better than Antonio versus United, because they might mix it up versus United. Like, they might not play him. It's possible. They might be like, okay, well, let's conserve you a little bit. You've been running yourself to the ground, basically, for our team to keep us up. Let's just conserve you a little bit. If we need you versus United, we'll bring you on or something like that. But in the event that we do definitely need you, we want you for the last game of the season versus Villa. But he might play both games. I don't doubt that, I guess. But like I said, Giroud probably going to be more likely to be like kind of going for it, especially since he had so many chances versus Norwich and only scored one. So, and it's not like United doesn't concede. Like, United has a lot of chances like against them that are quite good, but they don't concede very many, in a sense. So like, if we look at I'm just gonna check it, United's last fixtures. So since the restart, United, they conceded to the Southampton. They conceded 2 to Bournemouth, and they conceded 1 to Spurs. So the 1 versus Spurs was basically a mistake, because De Gea should have probably saved it, and Maguire shouldn't have got turned the way he did. So you can kind of chalk that one off. The Bournemouth one of them was a mistake, because Bailly handed the ball according to the VAR, even though it looked like it hit him in the shoulder, but nonetheless. And then which was a penalty. And the other one was just switching off. So I guess you could say that's probably more of a legitimate goal. And then the 2 versus Southampton, one of them was a corner, which was like Maguire just didn't go head it. So that was poorly done there. And then the other one, I'm trying to remember what their first goal was. I remember being decent. But like, United doesn't concede very many goals. They've only conceded 5 since the restart, which is less than a goal per game. So if you think that West Ham are going to come and run riot over United, I don't think that's the case. I think they'll give them a hard time, for sure. But I don't see them, slapping United or scoring for fun. Like, I don't see that happening personally. Especially with the FA Cup, like if they come off a win off of that and having rotated players, so you have the like of a fresh Pogba coming back in, a fresh Martial, or whoever they decide to rest, then could be quite good. Unfortunately, the United fan in me doesn't want Giroud to score, because obviously if he scores, that means Chelsea have 1 goal versus Liverpool, which means they're more likely to either get a draw or a win. So, is what it is. Now, I have no clue what I'm doing with my team, which is going to be fun to kind of figure out. I'm kind of just messing around with it on the side here. I have a bunch of different options that I'm thinking. So, Chad, if you want to let me know what you think is potentially the best one. So, I have a couple of different options. Or a few options. The first option is take out Foden, take out Giroud, bring in Jesus, bring in McNeil from Burnley. And so when we mentioned before, is it worth taking a hit for a Burnley attacker? In this case, it would be, because I'm upgrading Giroud and I wouldn't otherwise be able to do so in doing that. And I wouldn't have to, I would just leave my City players. I wouldn't touch them for the rest of the season. Unless I got early team news that one of them wasn't playing. So like, let's say De Bruyne wasn't starting, it was like David Silva or something like that. I could use my last transfer on that day to downgrade De Bruyne to David Silva or something. which is not a problem. Or if I know that like Salah's definitely starting, or whoever, and I think that the City team is like somewhat weak, or whatever it may be, then I can go from there. I'm not averse to obviously taking hits and whatnot, but that is one option that I have, which is just Jesus in for Giroud and McNeil in for Foden. So I still have 3 City assets. The second option is, again, it's going to be for a hit, so 2 transfers. It'll be Trent Alexander-Arnold out and Giroud out for Tarkowski and Kane. Now, again, that's to obviously upgrade so I can get Kane. That could also be Aubameyang as well. Like you mentioned, Mo, you talked about you had a Aubameyang in your team, and he could easily be Kane because I have a little bit extra. I have 1.8 in the bank after that, so that's another option. Or I can go with just a pretty straightforward, simple kind of transfer here, which is just take Giroud out and put in Ings, and then just run Ings for the last 2 games of the season. Because going into this this game week, I think it's Aubameyang and Ings are like 3 goals behind Vardy, if I'm correct in saying that. Let's see, Golden Boot EPL. Yeah, so Ings and Aubameyang are on 20, Mohamed Salah's on 19, and then there's a bunch of people on 17, but Vardy's on 23. So if Vardy doesn't get anything versus Spurs, and, Aubameyang gets a brace versus Aston Villa, and Ings gets like a goal or a couple of goals versus Bournemouth, then they could be looking good. So obviously, Southampton don't have much to play for, but Danny Ings is probably going to tell people, give him the penalties, give him the free kicks, give him everything. Because a Southampton player winning the Golden Boots, that'd be insane. Obviously, Aubameyang sharing it with the 2 Liverpool forwards and Mane and Salah last season. He'll probably want to obviously have it outright because he prides himself on obviously scoring goals, and it kind of shows something. It shows obviously worth because Arsenal are in 9th, and they've scored 53. Excuse me, 53 goals in the league. 20 of those have been from Aubameyang's feet or head, which is a pretty crazy number. Yeah, I know, but his XG's been quite good as well. And the last 2 games, so if we look at, I'm just gonna pull up some stats on the side over here. So I've been burned by Kane before, and I know it's probably gonna be to bite me in the ass. But so the 2 games that Spurs have played since they've swapped to this 4-4-2 formation with Son and Kane alongside each other. Their XG in the Arsenal game was 1.82, so they deserved to score 2. Son had 3 shots. Kane had 5. Kane also had 4 key passes, which is obviously nuts. And then in the 3-1 Newcastle win, Kane obviously only had 2 shots, but he scored twice. But he had a key pass in that as well. So, would say Jesus or Aubameyang. Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense, right? Because Kane doesn't really have much to play for. I mean, they're looking for a Europa League spot. So they're definitely... The thing is, with all the players that I'm considering, they all have, something-ish to play for. So, City players are just going to play because they're going to play, right? That's just kind of how it's gonna work. Whereas other players are just gonna, you know, they're gonna be just whatever. Like Danny Ings, technically, he's the only player on his entire team that's going for the Golden Boot, right? Whereas all the other players are not, basically. They're just gonna feed him. Aubameyang, like you said, going for the Golden Boot, but they're also going for like a Europe spot. So as it currently stands, I think Europa League is like, if you win the FA Cup, you get in. And if you get 5th or 6th, I think 7th is like a playoff spot for it. Let me actually check that out as well. Europa League, because there's so many different rules and stuff. Europa League qualification. So Europa League qualification. Europa League qualification. So you finish 5th and you qualify for the group stage. You win the FA Cup. You win the Carabao Cup, but I think City won the Carabao Cup. If the winners of the FA Cup and Carabao Cup finish 5th or higher, their Europa League spots go to the next highest team not qualified for the competition. So they were given to whoever finished 6th and 7th place. So basically, if City go on and win the FA Cup, or United's in top 4, and then they win the FA Cup, or Chelsea's in top 4 and they win the FA Cup, then it goes to like 5th and 5th, 6th, 7th. So as it currently stands, because that's most like, I don't think Arsenal's going to win the FA Cup, because I think City will beat them. But I think that Spurs are in a good position to get there. So Wolves is on 56, Spurs are on 55 in 7th, Sheffield United are on 54 in 8th, and Arsenal are on 53 in 9th. So obviously one of Leicester, Chelsea, and Man United won't make it in the Champions League, which means one of those will absorb one of the spots, which means it's a fight between those 4 teams. Wolves, Spurs, Sheffield United, Arsenal for 2 spots, basically. So they're still fighting for something. And I think it'll be just like Jose Mourinho to play like spoiler for Leicester. So, and Arsenal obviously should win both of their games. So you would think that they would be on 59 points, which means that Spurs have to get, what's Spurs' goal difference? Spurs would have to get 4 points to basically tie Arsenal if they were to win both of those games. Sheffield United play Everton and then they play Southampton on the final day. So those are 2 winnable fixtures for them potentially as well. But yeah, could be interesting. I think definitely could be interesting. So when it comes down to it, like everyone kind of, it's very rare that you at least get to see a bunch of different teams that are fighting for something come the end of the season. So like if you run down the table, Liverpool still potentially looking for records and kind of just like kind of steadying the ship a little bit. Man City keeping their form going into the Champions League, and plus some players are vying for starts for the FA Cup final. Chelsea, Champions League. Leicester, Champions League. United, Champions League. Wolves, Europa League. Spurs, Europa League. Sheffield United, Europa League. Arsenal, Europa League. Burnley even still potentially could get Europa League. Everton, not really playing for much. Southampton, Ings has the golden boot. Newcastle, not really playing for much. Crystal Palace not really playing for much. West Ham technically are still potentially could be relegated. Same with Brighton. Watford could be relegated. Bournemouth could be relegated. Villa could be relegated. And Norwich have already been relegated. So basically, you got to... So Norwich, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Everton. Those teams are the only ones that are really not playing for much, whereas everyone else kind of is. Like, Liverpool is obviously to a lesser extent because the records are whatever for some teams. So, like, they can still have the largest points gap win by the end of the season. So, basically, they need... I think the largest points gap was 19 points, I think. And it currently sits... They currently sit on 18, so they have to win their last two games. I still think City will win their last two games, but it's a chance that they might not. So, yeah, and it could be a bit tricky there. But I think the Golden Boot is going to be important for Aubameyang. He'll definitely want to obviously at least be tied for it again, if not outright have it. And he's very capable of getting it. Like Vardy might not score any versus Tottenham. Let's say Mourinho just frustrates them. He gets none. Aubameyang scores 2. And then the last game of the season, he knows that he needs to score 2. He goes out there and scores 2. And Vardy doesn't score any because he's up against United. As an example. Same with Danny Ings. You know, he's got good or decent fixtures in theory. So, and then Salah's going to be gunning for it as well. Like, Salah could easily score a hat-trick versus Chelsea. There's no doubt about that. And I think that's what he's going to be definitely going for. He's going to put his shooting boots on versus Chelsea, I think. Which is why I think Liverpool's not to be underestimated. Like, I'm still kind of worried about Liverpool's midfield. Like, if Salah goes and scores 2 today, and he knows that he's only like 1 or 2 behind, Vardy going to the last game of the season, you can bet your boots he's taking penalties, he's taking free kicks, he's taking everything. Jankster man, how's it going? I'm glad that you can join us. How's your team looking? Triple captaincy options for this and next game week. That's actually interesting. I will be doing a triple captaincy video for next game week specifically, as well as a free hit, because I know those are the two that people have. But for this game week, I would say... So, you got to look at players that are potentially going to be looking to get a bunch of goals, or they may be like on for the Golden Boot or something like that, like me and Mo were kind of discussing here as well. So I think that the likes of Jimenez probably isn't an option for a triple captaincy, mainly because he's not the type of guy that's going to score 2 or 3, and Wolves haven't been doing that. Vardy can be an option. However, Spurs have looked a little bit better since they've swapped to this 4-4-2. Ings, I would say, is definitely a consideration because he's going to be up against a Bournemouth team that have to play to win. They cannot lose any more games. They have to win both their games in order to have a chance of not getting relegated. So that means there could be space in behind for Ings to get into. So he's a good option. Man City, obviously Man City players are always good. I think that De Bruyne, he's had his rest. He's probably going to play in the Watford game, and he'll probably have his minutes managed in the Norwich game before they inevitably go into the FA Cup final. So he's an option. If you think that Sterling or Jesus could potentially see us start in the Watford game, I think it could be okay. David Silva for next game, yeah, that's possible too, because they might just give him penalties and free kicks and everything else. And we'll get early team news, so next week it'll be that'll be a good shout. Aubameyang this week is also potentially good because, like we mentioned before, he's only basically 2 goals away from kind of thinking, you know what, I can get at least a draw with this Golden Boot again with Vardy. Because Vardy could, like, maybe he struggles versus Spurs, goes in the last game week, and not really thinking about the golden boot. He's going to be thinking about getting Leicester into the top 4, and he might, struggle versus United. So it's just one of those things there. And then lastly, we have obviously United assets versus West Ham. West Ham are like 99.9% safe because of their goal difference is so much bigger than the likes of Aston Villa or Bournemouth. And yeah, so they're going to be kind of just chilling basically. And I think that there's going to be rotation in the game versus Chelsea in the FA Cup game tomorrow for United. I think you could see Ighalo come in for Martial. I think you can see Dan James come in for Mason Greenwood. I think you can see the likes of Fred and McTominay come in instead of Pogba and Matic or Bruno and Matic. There's a bunch of different ways they can slice it. And then even Salah or Mane is potentially good because Chelsea's defense is awful. And Salah's not out of the golden boot race yet. So I think that it could be something that he's definitely looking towards for that. So yeah, there's a bunch of different options. If I had to put my money, like if I had my triple captaincy right now and I was forced to use it, like let's say I had like triple captaincy and free hit, I would free hit in 38. No doubt about that, because you can get City lineup news or something like that. And I would triple captain either Martial or Fernandes probably this week. Mainly because West Ham, they're on the beach basically, right? They're pretty much chilling. Like if you look at, like, I'm just gonna bring up the Premier League table. So West Ham have a minus 13 goal difference. The team that can potentially overtake them is either Bournemouth or Aston Villa. Both have plus 12 and plus 14 goals that they need to catch up with just to tie with them. And then even still, West Ham have 47 goals scored, which is the other metric that is, for when it comes to ties and that sort of stuff. That is that's the other metric. So like it could be interesting going into the last day. So let's say in a hypothetical scenario, if United win versus West Ham, Leicester beat Spurs, and Chelsea lose to Liverpool, then United and Leicester can kind of like gentleman's agreement, just kind of shake hands, and just be like, yeah, we'll just go for a nice little draw here. And then they just shaft Chelsea, basically. That's very possible. However, if both, like, let's say Leicester lose to Spurs, Chelsea lose to Spurs, and United win, that would propel United 2 points above Chelsea, 3 points above Leicester, and depending on the goal difference, they could go into that game just needing a draw. And Chelsea versus Wolves isn't going to be easy either, so could be a bit tricky. Could be a bit tricky indeed. But yeah, I think triple captaincy is kind of it's just one of those things you just kind of at this point in the season just think who's an explosive player and just who's got a good fixture. United's obviously got a good fixture. In theory, another thing is that Liverpool are going to be lifting the trophy today, or when they play. Not today. It'd be Wednesday or whatever. Yeah, Wednesday. They'll be lifting the trophy on that day, so that'll probably give them more motivation. I don't know if they do it before or after the game, but they might want to go, okay, this is our last home game. Let's put in a good performance. Let's show them why we're champions, and then let's go for it. Triple captain Chris Wood. If you triple captain Chris Wood and he goes mental, you're the GOAT. That's just, yeah, sure. I mean, there's a scoreline where Burnley could win 2-0 over Norwich, and Chris Wood gets both of them. Just on his head, just in the goal. Happy days. On with your week. That would be the biggest green arrow you've ever seen in probably the history of just everything. Imagine Salah doesn't score. Mane doesn't score. Martial and Bruno are quiet. Man City has rotation and they don't really do too much. Vardy doesn't score, and Chris Wood gets like a brace, and you triple captained him. Your rank's gonna be through the roof. It's gonna be nuts. That'd be mental. Like the 75 man. Yeah, yo, hey. But the thing is, Twitter will make you feel like that everyone had Antonio. He wasn't very well owned at all. Like, he wasn't very well owned at all. Like, if you had Antonio, okay, cool. You know, you did good, but apart from that, you know, it's not. Yeah, you have him, you have him. If you don't, you don't. Same with Chris Wood this week. Some people are going to have Chris Wood. Some people are going to have McNeil. Some people are going to have Tarkowski. Some people still already have Pope. Maybe doubling up. You know, it could be anything, really. Now, it's 14 minutes, I think. When's the deadline? 14 minutes from now? Yeah, 14 minutes from now. I got to start thinking about what I need to do. So, these are my considerations because I'll just run through them again. So I'm thinking one thing is to get rid of Foden and Giroud and bring in McNeil and Jesus for exact money. And then basically start McNeil and start Jesus and bench Calvert-Lewin. So basically the team would be as is on screen, except for Giroud and Foden would be out of it. Actually, let me just like kind of show. I'll show the transfers as we're doing them. So it would be McNeil. It would be Jesus, like that. That could be one option, and that would be exact money for a -4. And like I said, going for a -4 for a Burnley player is only good if you're upgrading to somebody who's a big hitter. So like Jesus, like Kane, like Aubameyang, like Salah, like these sorts of players. Option number 2 is retain Foden, bring in. I'm just gonna put in Aubameyang here because Kane or Aubameyang are the same price; they're the exact same. And then have Tarkowski come in here. And again, play the same exact formation. So 2 strikers, Calvert-Lewin on the bench, 5 across midfield, Digne, Tarkowski, Doherty down back, Patricio in goal. That's option number 2. Option number 3 is just take out Giroud and bring in Ings and don't overthink it, really. And just don't take a hit and go into the last game week without, you know, taking the 4 points and just kind of going with Danny Ings. And potentially captain Danny Ings this week. Because that would be a big differential. And then I can go into the last game of the season with, if I see that, you know, Sterling, De Bruyne, and David Silva are all starting, I can take out Foden on the last game of the season and just and put in David Silva. Simple enough. Or if I see that, like, if 2 out of the 3 of David Silva, Foden, De Bruyne, and Sterling are starting, and the other one isn't, and David Silva is, I can take them out and bring in David Silva, and then maybe I move, you know, for something else depending on the golden boot. So let's say hypothetically, you know, Aubameyang gets 2, Ings gets 2, and they're really close to like Jamie Vardy, and he didn't score any. And the last game of the season, we say, oh yeah, De Bruyne's not starting, but David Silva is. You know, I can go like David Silva here, and then I could take out, or even Salah, I can take out potentially a Man United player, because they are against Leicester, it's going to be a little bit trickier. Or I can just, like, you know, take out Calvert-Lewin, bring in Aubameyang for the last game of the season, bang, job done. Something like that for a -4. But it's gonna be, it's a bit kind of tricky in that regard. And I still am not sure what I'm going to do. I think the safest option is just to bring in Ings. And just because we're definitely going to play in both games. But do we just want to go with the safe option? That is the question. Is the safe option always worth it? I don't know. Because if we want to get back into, you know, the top 50k and then the top 10k and have a good showing for our first, like, real season, then we got to take some risks. And I think Spurs have been looking better. And it will also give me, like, I'll be doubling up on the fact that, because obviously I support Man United, as I mentioned multiple times, but it would give me more incentive to root for Spurs against Leicester if I haven't got it already, basically. That being said, I can also have a situation where I actually, like, because I think Aston Villa are going to get relegated, and I think that now that West Ham's obviously going way ahead, it's either going to be one of Bournemouth or Watford. Hopefully it's not Watford, because I think Watford are actually still a decent team. But nonetheless. What do? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I kind of also want somebody in the Burnley game just because it's going to be interesting. Like, do I think that Liverpool are going to concede to Chelsea? Yes, I do. However, do I think Trent is capable of getting some type of return? Yes. Has Digne been terrible? Yes, that's another thing. The problem is that if I just reset this, so if I don't bring in Ings, let's say I go for like the likes of Aubameyang and I go Giroud out, Digne, bring in Tarkowski. I'm 0.1 off. 0.1 from bringing Kane or Aubameyang if I wanted to. Are there any other Burnley defenders? Technically, I could take out Patricio and put in Pope. Technically. Actually, that wouldn't do anything. What am I saying? Because basically, I have to get 0.5 million from somewhere. So it's either going to be Doherty or Alexander-Arnold. Because the rest of them I want to keep. This is so difficult. I really don't know what to do. I think I'm just gonna go stick with Ings and then see kind of how it works out. And then if Liverpool still look bad defensively, then I could take out Alexander-Arnold. I think that's kind of the play because, you know, not many people... I mean, people are going to have Ings, but, you know, he's still going for the golden boot. But the thing is, like I said, is the safe option always the best? I'm not sure. I think I'm going to go with the risky option. I'm going to go with the... I think I'm going to go with the... Actually, well, let's see. If I do... So if I brought in Aubameyang, got rid of Trent, brought in Tarkowski, can I still do Foden to David Silva on the last day? No, I can't. So I would need a different Burnley defender if I was going to do that. Which is a problem. Mind you, Foden's probably likely going to start that Norwich game. So if it's going to be one of those three that makes way, as long as Foden is starting on that last day, which he probably will, I think it's probably worth it. And I think I'm willing to take that risk. Now it's just a matter of, do I want Kane? Or do I want Aubameyang? What is Aubameyang's XG over the last few games? I don't even know. Gotta be quick about this. So he didn't play in the Liverpool game. He didn't play in the Liverpool game, really. Mind you, he came on for 30 minutes and kind of just defended. When was their last game? Spurs. Yeah, Aubameyang did score, but he hasn't had very many shots. Ah, screw it. I'm going Kane. Screw it. I think that's what we're doing. Is this what we're doing? Actually... No, I can't do that. Is it better for me to take out Doherty? Full well knowing. But he's gonna start. Screw it. Liverpool suck. I'm a United fan. Screw it. They suck. Liverpool suck. Let me just double check potential team news if I have any. Don't look like it. All right, YOLO. Let's do it. That's the team. That is a team. Gotta take risks. We have to take risks. And we went with a pretty big expensive risk. But I know that he's not going to be well owned. A lot of people are potentially going to go for different players. And he could be a very good potential option. Now the question is, do we captain him? You know what? Screw it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Alright, I think the deadline is done. Can I refresh this? Yep, I think that went through in time. I think that went through in time, but we'll have to we'll have to see. But yeah, it's a bit of a stressful one. I probably made a terrible decision, but it's okay. We live and learn. We have to go with differentials if we want to basically close in on potential mini league leaders and just go with just fun picks. Yeah, YOLO. Yeah, frig it. Just why not? So that's going to do it for this game week deadline stream. Hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a follow on all of the socials. I'll post them one more time in the chat for those that are still watching, if you haven't done so already. We'll also be doing one of these for Game Week 38 Plus as well. And that's going to be up, like I said, 2 hours before the start of the games. Whatever time zone that may be, I don't know. But yeah, that's what it's going to be. And yeah, that's we're going to be doing that. And we'll have some few more videos for you this week. It's going to be my Game Week 38 free hit. We're going to be doing a potential, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not, but it's going to be like a Man City kind of like, what do we do with them? And who's potentially going to be starting. And that's going to be after we see the FA Cup game. And the Watford game probably, or it might be before the Watford game, and maybe kind of play a little guesswork. The triple captain video will also be out as well. I don't know when I have to do that scheduled, but yeah, those you'll see the notification. That's why it's important to follow us all on these platforms so you can see them all. And those will be out. The triple captaincy and the free hit video will either be out like middle of the week or end of the week. They'll definitely be out a couple of days before the Sunday, so you still have time to kind of think about it and absorb it and whatnot. And then obviously when the game week is over, on the following Monday, I think, I will be doing a stream or a video, one of the two, to kind of just go over my team. Maybe I might do both. Who knows? To kind of see like how we did on the in the overall. Just overall as like a first serious season. And yeah, so yeah, that's gonna do it. Hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure, like I said, follow us on all of these things down below that you can see. Links are also in the description, and until then,